Hey y'all, this is your girl Coach Nikwa T on the beat, and you are now tuning into the Spacious Podcast where transparency meets healing and faith meets mental health. And on today's episode, we are going to be addressing a topic that may ruffle some feathers, but it's also going to give you some clarity, give you some understanding, and most importantly, it's going to be covered in truth and love. So the topic that we'll be discussing today is about I'm a believer, but I'm not a Christian. Now, how did this topic come about? So basically, I was on Facebook. I was scrolling, and then I saw that someone posted about how basically Christians, they should stay in their place and they should not engage in other people's understanding of how they should heal. Basically saying that witchcraft is okay. They should engage in those things. If long as they believe in God, then that is okay. And it kind of took me aback a bit because it shows how much as believers sometimes like we just have accepted anything and we've allowed our identity to be basically consumed in something that's not right. It comes from a place of just being lukewarm. And I know that being identified in as a Christian, especially in these days and age, it can feel like a lot sometimes. Like it can feel like a lot of pressure. It can feel like, we're just like judgmental people. And I know myself, when I really started to take my walk very seriously, I felt as if like, okay, well, I believe in God because I was here too, y'all. I believe in God, but I don't identify myself as a Christian based on like the religious perspective of what it is to be a Christian, what it is to actually walk this life out. So I had to get my perspective together too, because being a Christian is really about just being a follower of Christ, being in his sonship, being a son of God. But in this perspective, I had to learn how to really just learn how to really submit myself and accept the fact that I am a Christian. And that is who I am, and it's helping me to understand that the title doesn't make up my identity. My identity is in Christ. So I wanted to bring up a special guest today because she has been such a pillar in my life as far as like helping me, nurturing me, helping me to understand and mature me in my walk with Christ. So I bring forth to you today Miss Tracy Matillis. I'm gonna go ahead and bring her on right now. She's such a warm and beautiful spirit, but listen, she will correct you when it's time to be corrected. Okay, I done went into her office before and I felt like I was going into the principal's office, but I love her so much, and I just want y'all to get a dose of what she got because she gonna bring that fire. Okay. So let me go ahead and bring her right on in. Tracy, let the people know who you are.
Hi, people. My name is Tracy Matillis, and I am a believer of Christ. I am a Christian, and I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a leader. I'm a founder of Sisterhood, and I am a life coach, and I do healing and restoration one-on-one sessions. So I'm a child of God. I am a son of the living God. That's who I am.
Oh yes, okay. Y'all see how I'm trying to step my game up. I'm gonna get there, y'all. We all gonna get there, okay? Because that's the first thing we should be saying out of our mouth. Above the, not all the accolades and all this stuff. We gotta address the foundation first. So let's get into the first question because I know that we are in a time right now where it's just like I've been seeing like religious trauma, like that's something that's been coming up a lot. Religion is something that's been coming up a lot, and as of now, we're seeing that a lot of young people like my age, like millennials and Gen Z and all that, like we are basically stepping away from the church in a sense, because, and I feel like because people want to know the truth. We want to know the truth. We want to know the true meaning and understanding of who God is and what it is to really walk this life out. Really like kingdom. Like that's what we want to understand. So before we get into like what it means to be a Christian, I want to address like what are some of the stigmas about being a Christian?
Okay. So some of the stigmas that I have about being a Christian, that the biggest thing that I have been aware of is, I would say, mixing it with religion.
Mm,
So they would think that to be a Christian, you have to be this certain way that religion has caused us to turn away from the real thing of being a Christian, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So religion to me has caused people to say, I'm not a Christian. Like, that's really the biggest thing that I am noticing,
yeah,
that the people turn away from the rules and the protocols of religion and man-made books, that's causing them to say, no, I believe in God, but I am not a Christian. So that's something that I have noticed.
yeah. That's a very valid point. And to even go a little further, like, um, as Christians sometimes, like, well, a lot of times of what I've been seeing too is that like, okay, they're judgmental, we're hypocrites,
Oh
we're boastful,
yeah.
overbearing, and unsafe. Like it doesn't feel safe anymore. And it makes me reflect on like, okay, when I was going through that time period, I know we talked about this, it's like I don't want to be associated with that. Like, I don't want to be like, that's not who I am. Like, I know that I'm a loving person. I know that I, listen to others' perspective with understanding. We still working on that, but listen to others with understanding and grace. And that's what, Jesus, that's what he did. Like he went out, he was out here in the streets, like how we was talking about today. He was out here in these streets helping the people, and not forcing their hand to salvation. And I think that's something that we've forgotten about too. Like it's free will.
It's free will. That's good. Oh, now that you say that part of it, yeah. Um, whoo, that's a lie, because that's true with Christians. Some Christians who consider themselves Christians, they have become more judgmental, focusing more on the sins and the falls of God's children, instead of focusing on what's the real assignment, which is their soul, which is gaining the lost, and not so much focusing on what they're doing to be lost, but
Yeah.
focus more on. And so it does make us, because when we're focusing so much on those things, that people sins that people are battling with, what it does is it makes us hypocritical, because we forget what we're doing at times, or we forget where we come from,
Mm,
or we just forget that being judgmental is a sin. So
mm,
it does turn people away, because they feel like they have no safe place, or
mm,
they feel like they can't be honest. So now it makes the Christian looks really bad, and looks very demanding, controlling, and
mm,
ruling, and self recognition. Like, you want to be held up to this standard, yet you're not doing what Jesus did, which is wash the people feet.
mm.
You want all of our income, but yet you're not helping the ones who are in need. And
Woo!
so those are things that it does turn people away. And then they put Christian, that they are a Christian, on top of all of these ungodly works.
Mm.
So
Wow.
that's where people is confused. I think it's a state of confusion. Like,
Mm.
I believe in God, I don't believe in all that they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
why, because it's not right.
Yep. Yep, and that's what caused the conflict and not really seeing like the relationship side of things. Like they're seeing the religious side, but not the true, God, he wants us to connect with each other like through relationship. Like if God desires for us to be in relationship, like be in relationship with him, then of
Mm-hmm.
course he would want the same thing with people that are walking this earth.
Correct. And so if we focus, Christianity is relationship.
Right. Uh-huh.
That's what it's a follower of Christ. It's walking in that example of Christ. It's showing people love. It's walking with the signs and the wonders of Christ. So we have been representing Christianity wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the big deal with that's why a lot of people don't, and then that's why they are okay with witchcraft, because
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, people who are considering themselves Christians are walking in a they're walking in witchcraft, with
Yeah.
being controlling or being judgmental or using God for their own self gain. That's witchcraft too. So I think we need to understand more of what is a relationship with Christ, what is Christianity, and really study that to show ourselves approved.
That's really good. And that leads me into like the next point. Like what does it mean to be a Christian, or like what does that really look like to
So, in the book of Acts, and I'm not going to go through the scriptures, but when when Paul and if I'm saying his name right, but for you Bible scholars, go and read your word to help me with this. But it's in there that Paul in Antioch, listen, I'm going to try to say all these words so you can know what I'm saying. But what they were doing first to even come up with the word Christian, they were
Mhm.
out discipling. They were
Mhm.
out doing the example. So they were out teaching. They were out healing. They were out helping. They were doing everything they saw that Jesus do to come up with this word Christian. So
Mm.
they were out being disciples
Wow.
of Christ. And so that's what gave them, that's when it came up with, we are Christians. We are little baby Christ in,
Little
is how
baby.
I put it, because
Yeah.
we're doing what he did, and we're doing the more.
Mhm. Yes, we are. And I like the way you put that. And it makes so much sense. Like even when um being called to the fivefold ministry, like you have to make sure, or just in general, like you have to make sure that your character is in check, because that is what is going to be projected out into what the people see.
Correct. So character is big.
Yes.
It Character can be okay, so we can say your character you grow in character. So
Mm-hmm.
your character can be at first in a place where you are not fully matured in your walk, right?
Yeah.
So it does not take away from being a Christian. It
No.
just it helps you to grow to learn more of Christianity or walking into sonship.
Mm-hmm.
But however, character is a big deal, and that's a part of your walk to be more like Christ. Like you want your character to reflect of what
Mm-hmm.
Christ's character looked like. So
Mm-hmm.
he was meek, he was humble, he was gentle, he was kind, he was loving. He is love. So
True.
he had self-control. So
Yeah.
just imagine being crucified without saying a mumbling word. I mean, that's self-control by itself. So he was very humble, and he was committed to the assignment that caused him to be looking like his father. He said something to them too. He said, I only do what I see my father does. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to get to that place where if I don't see my father, which is in heaven, doing what I'm doing now, then I'm out of alignment of Christ, because he only did what he saw his father done.
Wow. That's good. Like I like how you put that in there because that was actually in my notes too about the fruit of the spirit, the joy, the peace, and all of those things. And it just makes me think about like the importance of just like that salvation, like really giving your life to Christ first so you can learn how to walk this walk. I think
Correct.
that's what we for like as Christians sometimes it's forgotten that like we're not perfect. We
Right.
haven't soon as we're saved, that don't mean we got it right off the bat. Like, no, you gotta go through some pruning. You gotta go get some things delivered if we being honest. Because
Yes.
when you break down that word salvation, when I looked it up, it goes into it broken down into like the definition of deliverance from the molestation of enemies.
My God.
Woo! That was big. Like
Yeah.
that thing hit. I was like,
My
woo.
God.
Because we gotta
Mm.
remember, like, when we come into like being born again or being saved, it's like you're a baby all over again. So it's like you gotta learn some things. You gotta
Yes.
get some things nurtured. You gotta get some things pruned out of you too, because
Yes.
you've been operating in the flesh or in the world so long. So when you're going through like learning how to have self-control, learning how to have joy instead of being angry all the time, like
Yes.
it's it's for you to really mature and once again be more like Jesus.
Yes, and that's good. That's real good because that's good that you tapped on. We're not perfect. Like we are not perfect. However, we're walking. That word perfection is walking into maturity.
Mm,
So even we grow daily. I
yeah.
mean, we are growing daily, and I think that's one of the biggest things, Shaniqua, why um we battle with Christianity is because they portray themselves as though some of us,
Some.
let's just say some, have seen the examples of being portrayed that they are perfect and that they
Mm,
have it all together. And so to be a part of this family, this Christianity family, you supposed to be perfect and you supposed to have it all together, and you shouldn't battle with whatever it is that you're battling with. And so that's a lie, because what we are growing, and we
yeah.
are becoming delivered, and we are coming into a place where we are learning what's right and learning what's wrong. We're coming into a relationship where God is giving us the strategies and the tools through Jesus Christ,
Yes.
our doorway. He's given us these things to help cleanse our inner self, where we're not captured and bound no more by the things that cause us to yearn for sin. Do you
Yes.
understand? So that's why that new birth makes such it's such an amazing thing to go through a new birth, because now I am no longer that person who I was. I am born again. And so I am a baby again in the spirit.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
So that's where we're growing now. We have awakened and activated the spirit man, because that was not born yet until
Mm-hmm.
we accept Christ as our Lord and Savior.
That's so good. And I feel like that's happening now too. Like a lot of us, our spirit man is setting a fire. Like, hey, this really not working no more. Like
Yes.
y'all here. Uh,
Yes.
I know my spirit man be getting me together. I know I'm not the only one, y'all. I know. But that's in another episode. We gonna save that one. So now the last point I want to get at is like how can believers actually shift their mindset from being what I call a cultural Christian into be falling into a place of like understanding and knowing about the truths of being a follower of Christ.
So you with I'm gonna ask you a question first. I
Yeah.
want to know, what is your example of a culture Christian?
Culture Christian, that's a good
Mhm.
question. I would say it's more so like um it's more so it goes into like that religion part of it, like what a lot of people they come from like grew up in the church basically. But back then it was a little different, like it was very like religious, like we wasn't taught relationship. So it's
Correct.
like, you had to pray at a certain time, you had to do
Yeah.
this at a certain time. You
Mm.
gotta be in church till 4 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, like all those things, but not really shown like know God for themselves, or just learn like what his character was like, or who he was.
So that's really good that you explained, because and now the question is, how do we come away from the culture Christian to the normal
Yeah,
Christian?
yeah.
Okay. So I would say, first off, personally, get a personal relationship. So find out, what is this Christ? Who is this Christ? Find out, who is this creator that we're talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
go and pray for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I did that was very big. I did not disown everything I was taught. However, I did try to put away a lot of things that I was taught to the side,
Mm-hmm.
to allow God to show me for himself who I
Mm-hmm.
am, who he is inside of me. And
Mm-hmm.
so that helped me to grow relationship. So I also reached out and got with those who were walking in this freedom that God connected me to. But reading the word for yourself, and finding out for yourself, asking God, desiring a personal relationship, to not what someone told you, not what someone showed you, but basically, what have you done for me, for yourself? So almost like have a personal encounter first
Mm.
with God, and then allow him to give you that moment, like that understanding moment. I can remember Ananias, I'm sorry, Nicodemus, he was asking the Lord, he said, how much must I be born again? Must I go back into my mother's womb? And Nicodemus was one of the Bible scholars.
Yeah.
So to hear him go and ask God, like, okay, Jesus, what is this about? Because what you're teaching is a little different from what I have known.
Mm. Yeah.
Go to him like Nicodemus and say, what I have known is not what I am feeling, or this example is not working for me. So
Yeah.
how must I do this? And God is faithful to show you.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's another thing too. And just to wrap that up is to basically say, like, get fix your posture to ask God. Like, you can ask God questions. Let's just put that disclaimer out there.
Yes.
Like, you can ask him questions. Okay, that's
Yes.
what you do in a relationship. You ask
Correct.
questions.
Yes, you
So,
do.
and a lot of times, in that upbringing, it was like, oh, you don't question God. But I think that was taken out of context, because it's like, if you want to get an understanding or know who he is, then it's like for yourself at that. Then of course you need to ask questions like, okay, God, like, this is my first rodeo, like, who are you?
Correct.
And he'll show you. But a lot of
Yes.
times it's like, I think a lot of times it's like our minds, it be kind of blocked too. So it's like you gotta wash your mind clean from things that you have learned as well, like unlearning things. And
Um,
even welcoming him into your heart by even asking for forgiveness. I think
mhm.
I know that's one of the first things that we did was like, okay, you need to list down all the people that you forgive, because we forget what you learn in one relationship. If you don't detoxify yourself from those things, you're going to take those things into your relationship with God.
Correct. Oh, that's good.
Because I know right now God is working on me, like, with trust. Your girl had some trust issues, okay? Okay, I'm just being real, and I know I'm not the
Mm-hmm.
only one. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm a person, I'm speaking into existence, I was a person that struggled with trust issues or trusting other people. Then it's like, I'm going to struggle with trusting God and trusting myself at that, of what he's telling me. Because a lot of us, it's not that we don't hear God, it's like we're not trusting what we're hearing from him.
We don't know if that's him
We don't
speaking.
know. Yeah, that's another one too. Like we just don't know. So if I know what was it? I know it was like when you was like, get to know God for yourself. He told me to go to Matthew. I believe it was Matthew, and was it John too? I don't want to get it wrong now. Was it John? Was
It
it
was
John?
Matthew 12.
It was Matthew 12. Okay. Read Matthew 12. Y'all just read the whole Matthew. Read the whole Matthew.
And can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, I want to say yes. What you said is very. I may kind of like glide it over it. But what you
Mhm.
said when you said detoxified yourself, I use the terminology like I kind of like didn't. I just put everything to the side. So
Mhm.
that is very big when you're starting to learn God for yourself and gain that relationship. Is that is the biggest thing ever, is to put away what you think you already know. Because
Right.
when you think you know so much, it blocks what he can really show you and tell you. And so
Mhm.
that's a blocker for a lot of, I know it was for me,
Yeah.
where I thought I knew God in a certain way and I thought I knew about him and I thought I knew what his scriptures meant. And then so I didn't ask those questions at first till I got to that place where now I'm asking him what each chapter mean, or what each verse mean, or what does this story means, and how did that look, and how was that performed, and what was your heart when you released this. And so that
Mhm.
is very important because it removes your way of thinking that you know him so much till you can't grow, because you stunt
Mhm.
your growth when you think you know everything, or you feel like, well, the Christians do it this way, and quote unquote the supposed to be Christians do it this way, but that's the way that is either born, or that's a way that they
Yeah.
always asking for money, or they always doing this, or they always judging us, when really that's not the example that Jesus gave. So if
Right.
you go and do detoxify that stuff and go to him and ask him the questions, and then also while you're asking him those questions, go to him and say, show me the truth.
Mhm.
He will give it to you. And do forgive. You said that too. Forgive. I do. I make everybody forgive everybody. So so
Everybody.
and forgive. I mean, that's your only way out.
Yeah, so that's good. And let me make it practical for y'all before we really wrap up. Like in a practical way, I want y'all to make a T chart, okay? So I want y'all to write on one side basically the things that you have learned in your like relationships that you have went through, either been like toxic or just put you in a place of just like bondage, or things that are not good that you have learned in a relationship, whether it's like trust issues, whether it's just like abandonment, rejection, all those things. I want you to put that on one side, and then I want you to write on the other side of just like things you want God to show you as you begin your walk, and really being what it is to actually be in a relationship
That's
with
good.
him, for one, and a relationship in general, because those things that you learn on the other side, and as you grow in him, he'll show you those things. So start
Yeah,
there. Even if you don't know where to start, that's where to start. Okay, I gave y'all a tool now, so it's up to you to use it.
I love
So
it.
well, that wraps it up for today. I thank you so much for being here, Tracy. It was my
Thank you
first
for
guest.
having me.
Yeah, so let the people know, how can they stay connected with you?
So they can find, I have a website that is www.healingrestorationtm.com. I am
Mhm.
also on Facebook. So I have Tracy Matillis Ministries on Facebook. And then I also do a Truth and Love podcast episode. So
Yes.
I have that on Instagram, where it is Truth and Love Truth and Love chats
Yeah.
on Insta and YouTube.
Uh-huh. Yep. Y'all check that out because it's real good, y'all. Like she be dropping nuggets with my home girl, Maya. Shout out to Maya. So yes, of course, stay connected with her. cause listen, she moving, okay? She doing some things. She helping us. If you need to get your life together in the spiritual, holla, okay? Holla, holla, cause I sure did. Um, so and of course, stay connected with your girl, Coach Equal T. You can stay connected with me on Instagram at underscore gracious space, and on Instagram, I mean not Instagram, but Facebook, y'all. Excuse me. On Facebook, on Gracious Space as well. We are a growing community, and please check out, subscribe, like, share with the people. And then I have a website as well, graciouspace.org, where you can book your one-on-one sessions. I help you with your mental and the spirit. So we tackling both, okay?
Yeah.
So that is it for today. I appreciate y'all. I hope that you got something that nurtured your soul today, gave you what you need. And this is a message from your girl, Coach Nikwa T. We out.